Thanks for taking the time on a Sunday. I appreciate that it is kind of a strange time to do office hours, but we'll record this and I'll answer any of your specific questions along the way. And hopefully it'll add some value for people, and hopefully people take the time to watch the recording if they're unable to be here at this time. We are at the end of our first module, or coming to the end of our first module. Wednesday wraps up module 1. So we've got sort of what's going to become habitual in our 6 modules as we go. The differences here are that there are still people that have not done the 2 mandatory submissions in order to be able to even see the quizzes for the module. So I'm referring to the academic integrity module, submitting that and allowing me to review it. Please take a second and read the instructions. It gets really tiresome when people send me pictures of all sorts of things that have nothing to do with academic integrity modules, or they send me screenshots without their names on it. Save us all some time. Do it right the first time. And if you're not seeing quizzes at this point, you think you've done both the academic integrity module and the course requirements quiz, take a look in the grade book. There's going to be something that you have not completed or you haven't got a perfect mark on. So investigate that and figure that out so that you can see the quizzes. Everyone that's got those 2 requirements done should be seeing quizzes at this point. The other mandatory thing is the course requirements quiz, which you need to get a perfect 20 out of 20 on. I did add on Thursday morning another 5 attempts. So if you exhausted your attempts and were unable to get it perfect, you were given another 5 attempts for this week. So please do that. There is no reason whatsoever with 15 attempts and all the material being presented and provided to you that you shouldn't be able to get that perfect. However, if you haven't, then you're not going to see the quiz. So if you can submit that late, there's no problem with submitting it late. The problem or the challenge for you is when I get around to marking it. So I have to review these submissions. And if you are late, specifically in the academic integrity module, if you send that to me Wednesday at 7 o'clock at night, well, if you send it to me at 5 o'clock at night, I teach Wednesdays. I'm not going to get around to looking at it. I may not get around to it at all. So if you're delinquent already, don't expect me to rush around to make your life any easier. Get it to me soon. I do it on a daily basis at the very least. So if you get it to me by Tuesday, you'll have an opportunity to write that quiz for sure on Wednesday. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's all I need to say about the mandatory requirements, but you do have to have those in. They do have to have perfect marks in order for you to do the quizzes. Not that many people have attempted quizzes or practices yet. That's fine. Your schedule's your own, of course. They are all due Wednesday at midnight. If you are unable to complete them between now and then, unless there's a really good provable medical issue or something like that, I don't reopen quizzes. I don't reopen practices or anything like that. So it's in your best interest to get them done as early as possible. I recognize this class is competing with other classes for your time, but each module is 2 weeks and it's 2 to 3 chapters. So my suggestion is to work your way through and get at least some of it done, and don't leave all the assignments, I'll call them, all the quizzes and practices and eventually discussions to Wednesday, every other Wednesday, because it's a fair bit of work. There's a lot of reading and it's a fair bit of work to get it all done. So do get into a routine where you get it done earlier than that. Those of you that have completed the quizzes, you'll note in your grade book that it shows as a 0. As soon as we get past midnight on Wednesday night, your mark will populate. So it'll show you what you got. It just doesn't release the marks until the deadline, until everyone's had an opportunity to do the quiz. I don't think I had a lot to talk about other than that. There's going to be some discussions in the next module. We can talk about that next weekend. Those will be short essay style questions. Please take the time to read the expectations for them. There will be citations and references required. The reason I ask about APA formatting in the mandatory course requirements is to make sure that you understand how APA works so that you can use APA in those submissions. Okay. Again, I think that's all I've got for today. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that? Anything I can clarify? I'm happy to go over anything whatsoever. Okay, if not, yeah, I guess just my hints, just keep current as much as possible. This course can get away from you pretty quickly in terms of the number of pages of reading that are required. There are lectures, but the reading is the key. The lectures are supplementary. Yeah, just keep churning away. I would set up a weekly schedule where I was working on this so that by the time, maybe in the first week you'd get the practice and the quiz done for 1 or 2 chapters. And then the second week you do the final chapter or tech guide. I'm calling those chapters. You do those in the second week along with the discussion, which doesn't pertain to this module, but pertains to modules 2 through 5. So, yeah, go ahead, Alfred.
So I did the practice questions yesterday.
Yep.
And so I'm looking at it now and it says I have 1 out of 1 points and that I'm in study mode now. So does that mean I've completed the practice assignment?
Yes, I would say so. If you've got 1 out of 1, so what it allows you to do it over and over again, like until you've mastered the content. So yeah, it's what they call adaptive. So it's an adaptive. It's not the same questions for everyone. If you had a certain section in, let's say, chapter 1, section 1.4 or something like that you were struggling with a bit, it would keep asking you questions about that until you showed that you'd mastered that. So if you do any of those practices long enough, you're going to get 1 out of 1.
Okay.
And if you bear with me, I'll just make sure that my mark shows what your mark does as well. I think practices should show you the mark right away when you're done in your grade center. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so I show you as having done your chapter 1 practice with a perfect mark. So you're good there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns? I said this in the first office hours, but I'll say it again. If I was doing it, I would do that chapter 1 practice, and I would follow that by doing, once I had mastered that amount of information, I would then do my chapter 1 quiz. I wouldn't do all my practices and then all my quizzes because they're all specific to the individual chapters. So I would do chapter 1 practice, make sure I was comfortable with it after I'd done the reading and optionally watched the lectures. And then I would do the chapter 1 quiz, and then I would do my chapter 2 practice, chapter 2 quiz, etc. But I mean, other people do whatever way you want. That just makes sense to me to layer on the success from the practice into running into the quiz. Their practices are with 1% each. There's a total of 17 practices out of the entire course. The quizzes are worth 2% each, still the same 17. So it creeps up on you, right? That's 3% per chapter, but it's 51%. You can have a 51% mark just by getting quizzes and practices correct all the way through the course without doing anything else. Not suggesting that either. So, If you guys are happy, don't have any more questions, feel free to get on with your Sunday. Thank you for taking the time. I'll stick around here in case someone has private questions that they want to deal with. And I will post this as a recording for you and your classmates that weren't able to attend to be able to review. Thanks again for taking the time. I'll post the appointment time for next week's office hours. Probably be Saturday. I prefer Saturdays. I just had an engagement this Saturday, so probably be Saturday, but I will post it. Thanks, guys. Have a good remainder of your weekend.